Hello, hello. So I thought I would give a bit of a talk here on sensitivity and empathy because as a way of contributing to this group, really, and sharing some of my experience because I've become very, very sensitive over, for me, what has become 23 years now of daily meditation practice, pretty much daily. And but when I started out, I wasn't sensitive. I don't think maybe I was, but not like this, not like I am now. When I started out, I was your average, left brain dude in his 20s, just trying to understand the world and reading lots of books and my head in books a lot of the time back then. And eventually went from reading Western kind of self-help style books, psychology and self development, to eventually reading kind of Eastern stuff about chakras and color, and then I started having some really powerful spiritual awakenings, spiritual experiences of light and illumination, and then I found it. Then I was called to a teacher, and through many years of energy transmission with my teacher at the time, who was a woman in California, um, doing those kind of guided journeys and receiving her transmission, I changed a lot. I became much more sensitive and much more out of my shell, because before that I was a very shy, very reserved person. So I came out of my shell and became much more sensitive and sometimes even powerful. But I also went through times of being very ungrounded, very anxious, something I still struggle with. But back then I had no tools, I had no awareness of how to deal with it. Certainly my family had no idea how to deal with it. And even most of my friends weren't really going through nearly the intensity that I was going through. So I was really on the fast track. I'm 47 now, so that started in my early 20s, around 23. So I really was put on the fast track of learning to get grounded and how to ground myself and how to use everything I could use that would work for me to calm myself down. Everything from food to yoga, asanas, to different crystals that I carried on me or used in different ways. And I just had to deal with all this energy that was coming into me, and my increasing sensitivity. So at first, after about a year or two of doing these meditation practices, I started getting so sensitive that the color of a room would affect me so much, and the sounds would affect me so much, but especially color. In fact, at first I couldn't believe what I was able to sense. I would sense, I would feel the energy, the color of a room so much that, or music so much that it would unbalance me if I was in a place that was unbalanced, where the energy, like if a room was too white, I could get very spaced out if I hung out in that space for too long. And that doesn't happen to me so much now, but back then it would really affect me. I get really anxious, really cold, and so at first I didn't believe what I was able to experience, so I just ignore. I wouldn't change it. I'd move into a new bedroom in a new house, and my room would be totally white, and I wouldn't warm up the energy of the room at all. And over time, a month later or whatever, I'd be super spaced out, very couldn't make decisions, always cold and overeating in order to try to ground myself, and it was terrible. I eventually had to accept, eventually was forced to accept that this was in fact going on with me, is that I was really being affected, not just sensitive, but I was being affected by color, and the colors I wear too, and I was being affected by sound more, and that I really needed to not be in really noisy places a lot, because it would just create chaos in my emotions and in my body. That the chaotic noise would go into me, and then eventually I had to realize, I had to accept that I was also very sensitive to food now too, and I could not eat certain things anymore. And that's been a continuing progression through the years. I've had to let go of different foods, and now I eat mostly vegetables and a little bit of meat. And when I deviate from that, I don't digest it very well and don't react to it very well. And I can't really drink caffeine. Even green tea will be too much for me sometimes. So I had trippy experiences. I saw auras a couple times. That was really amazing. Very distracting, very beautiful. Around plants, around people. 3 times I think that happened. I started to see entities in people, like negative entities that you don't want to see, really nasty things, and that's happened to me a bunch of times now. And I just became a lot more sensitive on every level and empathic to the point that on my most sensitive days, everything would hurt. Every sound, every color is too much, too bright, and if I'm walking down the street, I could feel the person, what they're feeling across the street, like on the other side of the street. On my most sensitive days, that just was there, and it was not like I was looking for that, and especially with a bit of cannabis. Just a bit of cannabis turns up my sensitivity, and getting on the bus is not a fun experience because the person in the next seat in front of me, the person 2 seats in front of me, I can feel how depressed they are, or I can feel how angry, or, so what I've come to see is that, I think this will be video one and maybe a few videos. What I've come to see is that it's not just, well, as we become more sensitive, which obviously can happen to men, as well as women, sometimes we think that women have women's intuition, women's caring, women's sensitivity, but in fact, I'm very intuitive, and I'm very sensitive, and I'm a man. So, but what I've come to see is that we don't just aren't just sensitivity isn't just something that is a emotional or mental experience or some amorphous energetic thing. I believe it's actually a change in your energetic field and in I believe your cells and probably even your DNA. So it's evolution. Some of us, we're all evolving, we're all changing, but as we get more sensitive, I believe there's a physical, it's physics. Our field gets bigger and different, and our DNA changes in our cell. The light in our cells is waking up very slowly, very gradually. I believe it happens over lifetimes of very gradual awakening of your light. It isn't really just, oh, I used to be conscious, and now I'm into meditation and yoga and things, and now I'm conscious. It's not really like that. It's really a very gradual, progressive awakening of your light and a dispelling of delusions from your mind, and an increasing of sensitivity, and with that empathy, ability to feel what someone else is feeling, feel their emotions, sometimes even feel their emotions when you're on the phone. Like they're not in the same room with you, but you can still feel what they're feeling. And if you have empathy going on with your partner or your best friend or your family, you will be able to sometimes finish their sentences just because you're just that empathic, you're that connected, and it's chakras connecting to chakras, and it's natural. The more there is love in that relationship, and love is not sentimental. It can be, we can have that as well going on, but love is an experience of empathy and sympathy, the ability to feel what another person is feeling. It makes, but not only is it a physical change to probably your DNA and your field, but empathy and sensitivity is also a ability. It is a virtue. It's a strength. And it's an ability. It's a power. It's powerful. It's a power in the sense that the best creative people, the best artists, the best musicians, the best lovers, the best writers are empathic. They're sensitive. They have the ability to make fine discriminations, to be able to sense things more finely than most people on more levels. So they can walk into a room and go, oh, this room doesn't feel very good, and they can feel what's off about it and what would need to change to put it right. So that person would make a really good interior decorator, or designer of restaurants or spaces like offices, making them more balanced, more balancing for us to be in them. Similarly, the sensitives make the best musicians, the best writers. I'm a blogger, so as a writer, I will write, but then I'll go through and edit, and I will make changes because I can sense where people are going to react to to my words. I can sense where I'm going to make them, have a negative reaction which makes them resistant to what I have to say. So I will then edit it to make it more soft. I use more empathy to edit my words so that I'm being less abrasive and less likely to trigger a reaction of resistance in them, and my words are more able to then draw out their own awareness of what I'm saying. So I'm really having to use love to write my article, and that's for debate as well. If you're trying to communicate what you see with someone who sees something else, you want to use empathy as much as possible. But the challenge with empathy is that empathy is very difficult because it's not just a physical skill. You can learn to be more empathic, but really I think we need to heal into becoming more empathic, more empathic and sympathetic and gentle. Because what blocks empathy is your strong emotions. Not, when you're naturally empathic when you're very calm and relaxed. But when there is a feeling of aggression, I've got to tell them this, I've got to set them right, I've got to show them the truth. Strong desire, strong anxiety, or any strong emotion really is going to take you out of your ability to be in a relaxed, spacious state of calm. So really, to heal means to become more and more calm all the time, more and more of a relaxed person who can have a reaction from someone else come at you, or an emotion from someone else come at you, and it just doesn't stick to you. It's just like water off a duck's back. But how do you get to that state? How do we're all evolving towards more and more empathy and sensitivity and calm like that. But there are certain kind of best practices that we can use to heal ourselves and keep growing in that direction. Obviously, the more you're grounded, the more you're in your body. So things like Qigong and yoga, the more you're doing things like meditation, which are a practice of practicing calm. The more you're doing things like working with crystal energy, which is, especially as you get more sensitive, you will feel what crystals do, how they affect you. As you get more sensitive, you will move to the country, very likely. You will balance your space with colors and lighting that feels good to you. You use herbs, and you do all these things. You may even use things like Bach flower remedies. So I'm going to stop now because I have to go to an appointment, but my next video, I think I will share some simple practices and tools that anyone can use to keep healing. Because as we keep healing, we not only get our empathy growing, but we get our intuition growing. And your intuition is that inner guidance that has the helicopter view of your life that will lead you in the best ways to the best things for you to help you grow and get everything you want in a way that benefits not only you, but benefits everybody. So healing is really number one priority in our life. That was really cheesy. Number one, I think should be our number one focus in our lives. And after that is service, because as you're healing yourself, that is the most profound service you can make to everybody, including yourself. And then you got to do service as well, because you got to make the bucks. So that's my video. Hope you enjoyed it. Next video, I will maybe talk a bit about the healing kind of tools and technology that I enjoy using in my own day-to-day self-healing lifestyle.